There we go. All right. Well, good evening and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate weekly coaching call. And tonight is we're following a structure for a curriculum. And tonight is lesson 4 in business formation. And before I get started on that, uh, obviously you all have businesses already, but this is a refresher, right? And I think all of us can benefit from that. And if you haven't heard some of this before, maybe you'll be hearing it for the first time. I think there is some good content in here. And I'm thinking about even your business, Chris, as I was going through and writing this up. I think there are things we all can use. So, first, couple of quotes. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. We've all heard that one, but we need to think about it a little bit. What exactly does that mean? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Nobody wants to fail, so we just need to be prepared. And then I was inspired. I've got a good friend of mine that was a business partner for 11 years, and he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at the beginning of the year. And the odds of that are 90% fatal unless you catch it early, in which case it can be a 90% success rate. And he did catch it early. And so he went through chemo and radiation, and then he went to the Mayo Clinic to actually get, the operation where they could get this tumor off of one of the veins. And they took part of his stomach and his intestine and part of the pancreas. But the neat thing is his girlfriend is sending pictures back. And one of the things, the vans, the shuttle vans that drive people all over around Mayo, to their motels and Ronald McDonald houses and all that stuff, they have these slogans on them. And she was taking pictures of these slogans. And think about this for a business, right? A medical model community, one of the best in the world. And here's one of their slogans: solving the unsolvable. Another is seeing the unseeable. And another was explore beyond. Think of the inspiration that would give all of the employees, all of the doctors that are, residents there, all of the trainees, and most of all of the patients. When you walk into that, just being close to that environment, you are around the best in the world because they are always pressing in. And I think there's a lesson in marketing and in entrepreneurship, and that gets even back to mission statements, right? All these things that we always say are so important. These are things that we can define, and it can be part of who we are, part of our vision, and it can be part of our brand. So just think about those things. We're going to get started with the lesson now. We're going to dive straight in. This is lesson 4 in business formation, and it's the essential elements of an executive summary. And we're going to transition from that into a one sheet. And I'll talk about that in a little bit as we get in. And then I'm going to end with consulting professionals for business success. So we've kind of got 3 things going real quick, but we're going to hammer it home. It won't take long, but it's going to be thorough and in-depth. So first, essential components of the executive summary, what you need to include in that, how to adapt your one sheet to that. So your executive summary has essential elements that you have to talk about, okay? And think about an executive summary first as this is a first impression. If you're soliciting, let's say, from angel investors or even family and friends, and you want them to invest in your business, they're not going to want to sit down. And if some people have 100-page business plans, 40-page business plans. Some have a 3-page business plan. But if you're an angel investor and your job is to sort through and find good things to invest in, you're not going to read every page of a business plan. You're going to shortcut it. You're going to find the how to get to it, and the how to get to it is the executive summary. You're just going to, that's like throwing a fishing lure out in the water, and you're going to see if something's going to hit on it, right? So an executive summary is the first impression that a lot of people looking at business opportunities are going to go to. So you need to make sure that it's thorough and that it really is capturing what your business is. So 7 points in an executive summary. Business concept. Briefly describe your product and service, or product or service, and its purpose. This is the why, right? Why you're in business. What problem are you solving? Business concept right up front. The mission and the vision. And part of the reason I told you about the Mayo Clinic and some of their slogans, solving the unsolvable, seeing the unseeable, and explore beyond, that's their vision. So your mission and your vision articulate the goals and values of the business. And if you can come up with something that's snappy and short like those things, include it. That gets people's attention as long as it really is getting to the heart and soul of your business, your mission and your vision. Number 3 is the target market. Define who the business serves. Okay? You need to have a good handle on who that market is. Number 4 is unique selling proposition, the USP. That is highlight what sets your business apart. Okay? If you're doing lawn mowing, doing lemonade stands, right? And I know every year the Chamber of Commerce has a day of lemonade stands where they encourage young people to become business focused and to think about what goes into that. But if everyone's setting up lemonade stands, what is going to make yours different? What is unique about it? Is it the service you're offering? Are you going to give straws? Are you going to give choice of paper and plastic straws, paper and plastic cups? What is the unique proposition, your unique selling proposition? So give that some thought. You need to set yourself apart from everybody else who's doing anything like it. Chris, I know you're an artist, so, you're different because you're unique already. Artists have a unique value proposition right away, but other businesses, you may have to dig a little deeper. What makes it different? What edges do you have, right? What other things do you offer that most other places don't? Make sure you include that in your executive summary. Number 5 is your revenue model. Outline how the business is going to generate income. If you're not making money, it's not a business. If you're dabbling around and you're not making money, it's a hobby. Okay? It's not a business unless your goal is to actually generate a profit. So be clear what your revenue model is. How are you going to make a profit? You're going to buy something at, 5 cents and you're going to sell it for 10 cents. Okay, that's 5 cents. Well, what are your operating costs? A penny? That's going to be your profit. You can break this down. Now just add zeros and commas, right? But you have to have a good idea of what your revenue model is and spell it out. We're going to be a retail operation operating on a 60% markup. Overhead expenses, we figure at 33%. That leaves us with a margin of, right? It can be simple, but it has to be addressed. People reading your executive summary need to know you've thought about the money. Okay. Number 6, financial highlights. Provide an overview of your expected growth and profitability. How long do you think it's going to take to break even or to make a profit? Just some basic financial projections. You don't have to go into the weeds. That's going to be in your financial section, but at least a brief overview. We expect to be generating X amount of dollars and be breaking even by such and such a time. At least give some realistic expectations. And number 7, and this is of utmost importance, call to action. Include an invitation for further discussion or a partnership. What are you looking for? If someone's reading that executive summary and you want them to take a closer look at your business plan, you want them to invest in your business or perhaps just become a customer, right? If somebody turns you down for getting involved in it or being a revenue partner, maybe they will at least be your customer and send you more customers. Maybe that will be a resource for you. So remember a call to action. And that can be just, let's just, if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to meet with you. We can discuss this further. Be happy to have one-on-ones and meet with other investors, whatever. But some sort of a call to action. You don't want to just throw it all out there and then not have a reason to follow up, right? That's on you. That's not in the executive summary. It's on you to do that follow up, but give them a reason to follow up and get more involved. So, a real quick review: executive summary. Number one, the business concept. Number two, the mission and the vision. Number three, your target market. Number four, your unique selling proposition. Five is your revenue methods or your revenue model, excuse me. Six is your financial highlights. And seven is that call to action. All right. Important things, but you can consolidate it. If you can, in executive summaries, everyone says, well, how long should it be? When we were teaching in school and we had people actually writing business plans, students were always, well, how long does it need to be? You all remember this from school, right? Long enough to address the topic, right? It should be brief because it should lead you into, it should be, again, something to get people's interest so that they will go to your marketing plan section, so that they will go to your financial section in your business plan. But that summary should be enough to gain interest and give them a real good overview, the Cliff Notes version of what's inside that business plan. Are they going to be interested or not? And you want to get their attention with that executive summary. So put a lot of thought into it. Now, that's executive summary. Big deal, just one piece of that business plan. But we're going to transition to a one sheet. And what is a one sheet? A one sheet is taking some of the important elements from that executive summary. Okay. A one sheet is a document. And think about this. If you've sent in a resume, right, and your executive summary is like a resume, your one sheet can be like an interview. All right. Think of it like an interview. This is where they're going to get a real feel for who you are, what the business is, and what it looks like. So if you look at it that way, you want them to go into the entire business plan. So one sheet might be well, in fact, I'll give you another example. If you're going through a bookstore or you're somewhere and someone's got a book lying on the desk, and if you want to take a look at this, here, we'll take anything. We'll take Jim's book. Okay. The answer is yes. All right. And then you've got a couple of things on the back. You've got a color scheme. You see the profile. You've got a subtitle, a little bit of stuff here. All right. This gives you a feel for, do you want to open it up? All right. And of course, if you open it up, there should be more, right? Something else, a little bit extra. So a book jacket, think of a book jacket like a one sheet. What's inside of here? What's inside that book? What's going to make you want to pick it up? What's going to make you want to buy it? What's going to make you want to read it? It should have your attention right here. So think of a one sheet, a business one sheet, similar to that. So what we're looking for with a one sheet, it needs to be concise. It has to be visually appealing. It should be some version of your executive summary condensed down. All right. So this is where you get to be creative and a little artsy. Often you use this for quick presentations or marketing, right? Think about a trifold brochure. Somebody wants to go traveling and they want to go to the Bahamas, or they want to go to the Poconos, or whatever, Switzerland, Sweden, the United States, the Grand Canyon. Think about what a brochure would be for that. Now look at your business. If you wanted somebody to look at your business plan, what would your trifold brochure look like? What would it be? What would the color schemes be? This is a chance to your first time to have your logo put on something, right? What's your logo say? What colors are you using to brand your business? You get to start doing the marketing with a one sheet right here. And Rachel will chime in at the end of this and get some of her thoughts on this. This is her forte. But when you look at a one sheet, think of all those things. So here are some key adaptations for a one sheet. Use bullet points and visuals for clarity. Everything on there should have a purpose, right? Focus on brevity without sacrificing critical details. So you don't want to get into the weeds with this. This is chum in the waters. This is really that second look almost. This is, If the first impression is the executive summary, the one sheet might be like a first date. Okay, you've gotten that far, but now give me some substance. So focus on brevity without sacrificing critical details. Add your branding elements, logos, and colors, right? Talked about that a little bit. Make sure there's contact info on there and a call to action for more details, for added information, for more value, for a free gift, for whatever. A one sheet could literally be used as, a marketing, or even it can function as a standalone advertising tool. You can even have a one sheet if you're satisfied with everything you've got. And one sheet doesn't necessarily mean just one side of the paper, like a blank side on this. A one sheet could be two-sided, right? You can be creative, you can be clever, and have it laminated. Give this thing some life, give it something, make it stand out from what anybody else might have. A one sheet is your chance to literally say, this is who I am. This is my business. And you get a real good idea of the quality of what I'm doing. Make sure you're having it reviewed, edited, proofread. You don't want misspellings. You want things to look good. We're lucky to have Rachel on the marketing team. So that's that last pair of eyes on things. And I know when we were writing our books, we all had editors and proofreaders, and you could go through three proofreaders, and the fourth proofreader would catch something that everyone else missed. So make sure, if this is your first impression out there, that it's quality. Don't be afraid to share it and get other people's, eyes on it and their opinions on it, and get it all dialed in. So a one sheet is a great document to have. It's that physical thing, but it could be posted online. You could use it on your social media pages. You could use it, well, in fact, it should even have some of the information you'd see on a homepage, on a website, right? A one sheet, what are people going to see? What's their first impression? What are the highlights? And even break that down. That's a really good way to look at a one sheet. If you looked at a homepage, what are those tabs? Where are you leading people? What are the important things that they're going to find? And if they wanted more information, then they're going to do your business plan and see that. Okay. So all of that, look at that. Executive summary, transition into a one sheet. We've got that dialed in. That gets me to the next point of this. Importance of consulting professionals. We don't operate in silos. And I know that you can do a Google search, you can get on YouTube, and you can learn to do just about anything and everything. And that's all good, but it doesn't absolve you of doing everything properly and in order, and making sure you've got your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So if you're setting up a business, especially if you're going to get into funding where you're borrowing money or getting partners involved, make sure that you get a lawyer involved, right? Just put it into the business plan. It's going to be part of our startup costs. Budget for it. Have them look at your documents. It's going to be another pair of eyes and another mind looking at your business from a legal perspective, as opposed to just any perspective that you might be on. So it's okay to have, especially if you're doing structuring, LLCs, contracts, government compliance things. Make sure that you have a lawyer. And again, if it's just a startup and it's just you and a mom and pop start at home, yeah, most things are fairly easy. But as you grow, as you start scaling, make sure you're doing things with the right expertise behind it. Right up there with lawyers would be your accountants and CPAs, not just bookkeeping, but somebody who knows the tax laws, the litigation that would go into that, how to handle financial planning and tax strategies. Bookkeeping, obviously, but they're going to help you with that. I know most accountants will just send me over your QuickBooks or whatever you're using, and they'll do the rest. So just be in communication with somebody who knows what they're doing on that end. I know that I went to the most valuable seminar I ever went to was a tax seminar for home-based businesses. And gosh, I can't tell you how many years ago it was, but it was a former IRS tax auditor that gave the class. And I had pages of notes, and I've used those strategies for decades. One seminar was worth its weight in gold, and that was a plane ticket, a couple nights in a motel. So, whatever it takes, invest in yourself as well as your business. And that means going to the professionals. More professionals, and we've talked about this a little bit with the executive summary and the one sheet, and that's marketing consultants. They're going to help you with color schemes. If you've got a particular product and you've got the wrong color scheme with it, it may be a turnoff. So there are all kinds of things to consider. Marketing consultants or ad agencies. If you're going to have a budget for those things, know how you're spending that money and get the most bang for your buck. So consultants and agencies can give you guides on branding, market research, promotions. Some agencies will even do focus groups, that sort of thing. So you can do your own focus groups too, right? Ask your friends and families, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? But they're going to do it on a larger, broader scale. They can give you demographic breakdowns, mailing lists, all kinds of tips and tools that you might not have access to otherwise. So don't be afraid to reach out and find experts in those fields. And if you have to pay for them, you might have people that will help you with that. And if you have to pay for it, be willing to. A worker is worthy of their wage, and there's a reason people charge for what they do. They can save you money and make you more money. So don't take shortcuts. The other thing is industry experts, coaches and consultants. You're all on this call here tonight. So this is part of what we do. You've got access to us. You've got marketing gurus here, people with lots of business experience, startups and shutdowns and mergers and closures. So we've got all kinds of experience. And so coaches and consultants will offer you insights and advice specific to your business field and your business area. So be sure and seek them out. If you can't find them here, we'll help you find them. But don't be afraid to look for those. Now, I do want to emphasize that consultants, professionals in all these fields can save you time, avoid costly mistakes, and they can enhance your credibility. The caution that I have is everyone today wants to use AI, and there are all kinds of tools like Rocket Lawyer and LegalZoom, and a lot of those are not state specific. They may have, here you can do this for, Indiana or Florida or whatever, but they're not always the most accurate or they may not have the most timely information. So don't rely on just AI. Don't rely on some of the other websites. Shortcuts are fine. Make sure you're doing your due diligence and your homework if you are using those things. Jurisdictional issues, updates may not always be the same. So it's on you as a business professional to make sure it's right. You're going to be held accountable at the end of the day. If something is going on with taxes or with legal stuff, you're the one who's held accountable, not the people that LegalZoom or something like that. So just remember, the buck stops with you. It's at your desk. So a couple of key points. We'll wrap this up. About 20 minutes of time. We're going to get to Chris here. The executive summary's purpose and its essential elements. Make sure you're not taking shortcuts. How to create your effective one sheet. Your springboard to that should be your executive summary. They should lead each other back and forth, okay? Critical role of consulting professionals. And here's the one thing I want you to ask yourself. What part of the executive summary or one sheet do you think is most crucial for capturing your client's interest? What part do you think is the most critical? And that might be a clue on the direction you want to go for your vision or even your demographic market. So think about that for a little bit. That might be a great help. The other thing I do want to mention before I completely wrap this up is we do have, with our business plan basics on the document section of Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, there is a how to write a business plan for a lean startup. And it simplifies the whole business plan. If you just want to do something quick, easy, and just get it started, make sure that you are at least doing something. So you can use the lean startup. A lot of mom and pops, sole proprietors can do that and get away with it. But again, there's no substitute for being professional and asking for professional help. So that's going to wrap up this section right there at that time slot. Looks like 25 minutes in. We'll call that good. And our next person up, Chris, I'm really excited to talk to you. Number one, you're an artist and a business person. I love that. So Chris is going to share with us tonight Redneck Watches and Moeller Designs. So Chris, you've got the floor. Give us the heave-ho and the 1-2. Tell us what's exciting and what inspired you and what's going on with your business.
Well, good evening, everybody. I kind of have poor lighting. I'm in my truck because I actually had to go back to my regular job today. Braving the little bit of snow that everybody panics about in California. Um, so basically, Moeller Design has been around for a very long time. I started off as my graphic design company back 20 years ago when I used to do a lot of graphic design. So it's interesting that you mentioned one sheets. I haven't really thought about one sheets for a very long time because for what I do, it's more just kind of a personal interaction with people. And now having, Instagram and Facebook, those almost become somewhat of a digital one sheet that people go and look and see your page and what you do on a regular basis. Um, Moeller Design is basically the core of the company where all the sales and stuff goes through. Redneck Watches came to fruition because I do sell watches, but I look at it as the working man's luxury watch page because I'm not really a bougie guy, but I do like fine Swiss timepieces. Um, as you said, I'm an artist, so that's kind of like first and foremost. So breaking down my company into bullet points, precious metals. I do a lot of my own custom casting, sculpting, design work, mostly in like the bullion fields. A lot of sand cast stuff for people to collect cool art pieces that just don't exist. My initial startup for the casting was because I wanted to make my own pirate treasure, and collecting regular traditional Pamp Swiss and Engelhard and regular bullion products just got boring. And I could buy casting grain and make my own products, and still have the same core investment value in the metals, but I had something cool to hold on to rather than just a flat bar with somebody's name on it. So that's where kind of the casting portion. And then along with that, I consult people if they want to get into metals. I've been buying and selling precious metals since I was probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years old. So just the idea of different products that people may want, where they want to store wealth. I tell people it's kind of like crypto and everything else. You're not going to get rich in precious metals, but it's a safe place to park money. Same thing goes into high end watches. You're probably not going to get rich, but if tough times come up, you need to make a house payment, a car payment, you have a piece of tangible material that hasn't completely lost value in modern times, right? People still hold value in watches, precious metals, jewelry. If you want a piece of jewelry, the smart thing about it is you have to find a way to buy it at the right prices. You don't want to go to your retail stores and just plop down a basic. It used to be triple key, which is 300% markup on jewelry. Now it's probably 3,000% on markup on most retail jewelry. So, I consult a lot of people on that. The watches thing has been a passion once again since I was very young. My ex-father-in-law was a high-end jeweler in the Bay Area, and he got me into the higher end timepieces. So it's just been on some level, this will still be considered a hobby, but I do make money at it. You know, um, I don't ever plan on having a brick and mortar. I don't ever plan on holding a lot of inventory because even things in the precious metal field, you have so much variation in price with the volatility of markets, but I also have access to hundreds, if not thousands, of different vendors that I can source most things, whether it be precious metal, jewelry, gold, high end timepieces within 24 to 48 hours. It's not the modern world doesn't require the big brick and mortar for you to have. Um, you know, Lots of times people want things at prices that aren't realistic because they search the internet, like you said. They see all these things, and I go, well, you call that number and you see if they have that item in stock. Because especially in the watch space, if you go to Chrono 24, which is one of the bigger watch markets out there, lots of people have things listed, but they don't have them in hand. So, it's easier to be able to know all the gray market dealers, as we call it, to be able to get what they need. So, starting off, the precious metals has aspects of it. My own personal art side of it, the investment side, if people just want to hold metals. Some people aren't comfortable because they want things that have heritage behind them. traditional graded bars and whatnot. So they will want, gold and silver from the standard big mints. I can get those things too. You know, it's kind of what people's desires are, and we just talk about it. I mean, I've been in this space for so long that it just becomes second nature. I do for my products, I'll do everything from wholesale dealers to, retail customers. When we go to the jewelry space, I don't make a lot of jewelry myself, but I have a good 10 or 15 high-end jewelers that I use on a regular basis. If you want your 4 karat diamond solitaire wedding band, two-tone platinum, you give me whatever design you want, and probably in about 2 weeks I can have it custom made. You give me the specs that you want. I usually tell people to go use other people's websites and tell me what they like. They send me the images, and then I send them off and they get created little or no time, right? I still use a lot of my graphic design background. I tell people I'm not really an artist. I'm more kind of a thief because I don't need to be the artist in the corner staring at the white wall going, what do I see here? Whereas I can use all sorts of elements in design and just get it replicated now, easier than it's ever been before. That's really what it comes down to. And then if you want your traditional items like Tiffany or Cartier or whatever other custom jewelers out there, Harry Winston, I can source all of those legitimate products too, not just custom pieces that somebody wants. And then going back to the watches, I mostly sell used watches. I tell people all the time, even if somebody in a gray market setting says they're selling you a brand new in box Patek Philippe, it's not. Somebody went to the authorized dealer and bought it and then sold it to a gray market dealer. It's still technically used, and for me personally, if you like to wear watches, which is where the redneck side of watches comes into play, and you're not just leaving them in the safe or just using them as a piece to show off to the general public, come see me and we'll get you a nice pre-owned piece. No box, no papers. It'll save you a lot of money. It'll be 100% authentic. It can be repolished. It can be serviced, even at Rolex. And then, you have a watch that you're going to wear and utilize as a timepiece, right? Horology for me is the reason why I'm in watches. I love the mechanic side of the coin. So, but I can source pretty much anything. And that's really kind of what I get. I was talking to Rod before. I also do things for people I know. They have estates that they acquire, parents pass away, family members, or they just given collections over the years. And I'll come authenticate things, whether it be, coins, numismatics, bullion products, watches, jewelry, and giving them an idea of, what they have on usually people want to move things quickly. So I give them a wholesale aspect. If they were to go to a pawn shop or a jewelry store or whatever and say, hey, this is where you're going to get it from. Or if they have some unique pieces that most people aren't going to give them top dollar for, they might be better off selling them on eBay or whatnot. I do buy some collections here and there, but once again, I don't like to hold a lot of high fluctuating inventory, especially when I can acquire most of it within a couple days.
I love your business model, Chris, and I love all the things that you've said about it. I do have um, one question that comes to mind, and that is, do you use apps for like valuing rare coins and stuff like that? Do you use some of those apps, or is that something that you don't
Yep.
put your trust in?
No, I do use apps because I'm a member of PCGS, which is a grading company, and I send a lot of stuff that I get to them. I utilize that. Kitco has metals apps that allow me real time prices on spot prices, what they are. There's another couple other coin apps and whatnot that they'll give you market values. PCGS gives you graded coin values, average things. They even link, if you're a member, to a lot of eBay auctions to see what the current market value is. A lot of times with obscure items, whether it be jewelry, watches, or precious metals, eBay is a good resource in the sold items. Because just because something's rare and it's listed for $100,000 on eBay's main page, if nobody's sold any or nobody's bought any, you have no real idea of market value until you look what's sold.
Right.
And unfortunately, eBay takes a lot of money in the seller side of it. They're about 15% of whatever you sell, but they're still one of the biggest resources for selling obscure items, especially older items, rare, unique items, to where, you have a bigger market to see what the basic scope is throughout the nation, if not the world.
That's awesome. Great information. And one of my takeaway, one of my takeaways from this conversation, Chris, is your network. That you've established over the years this network, and I think part of that's probably from the grandparent heritage, right? But the fact that your network becomes your net worth, right? It's who you know and who can consult with and that sort of thing. So definitely an important reminder for all of us. If you need something, if you have a question about something, we may not know, but we might know somebody who does know somebody who knows, who's the expert in that field. And the whole redneck watches thing really appeals to me, I have to say personally, because when I was a young man, I used to go through at least a watch a year, just busting them up or going into the water. And it's back when you used to be able to work on cars by yourself, get your hands in weird spots, and they were always, the watch was the hang up. But a nice timepiece that you would wear to, special occasions, functions like that. What a great heirloom. To have. So I was never really into that. I always bought like Swiss Army watches, and I could have a decent, over the counter watch, but I've never bought a good one. And I have to say that ever since we've started here, you're on my radar. So we'll have further discussions about that.
I love all timepieces. Just the longer you're in this space, when you're going to buy and wear things, like I don't jackhammer with my Panerai on. I'm not going to go and work on my truck with a Rolex on my wrist. I take it off and set it in the toolbox. But yeah, in the end of the day, I love timepieces that are mechanical timepieces, most definitely, because the idea that little machines with a mainspring can calculate time as accurate as they really do and have for 150, 200 years is pretty amazing.
It
you know
is. Yeah.
Apple Watch is not a watch, it's a tool. It's a small computer on your wrist, but it's not a watch.
Right. Absolutely. And then they'll come out with what is it, 14, 15, 18 version. Well, Chris, thank you very much. Everyone, you've seen the text, so the links are out there for Chris with his Instagram, and you can follow up with him there. Thanks for sending that out earlier, Chris. Definitely appreciate that.
Here to see kind of what I do, and I'm in lots of different spaces because I'm a hobby nerd as well. So I don't have, and doing this, when I do decide to do this full time, it's more about the freedom to kind of pick and choose which sect I go into, right? Like I said, I have a buddy who's got a coin shop. He went on vacation to Hawaii. Somebody broke in and took 200 grand worth of his inventory.
Ouch.
So I don't really ever want a brick and mortar store that I'm tied down to. I really like the freedom of being able to fly. And when you have commodities that I trade in, if emergencies come up, you have the ability to have relatively easy cash, at least for me. For the general public, it's not quite as easy, which is why I do consulting. Like I mentioned, my friend whose mom had passed away and he had a bunch of stuff. And I just kind of bring down to the reality that most of the time, if you try to clear your inheritance at one time, you're going to get taken advantage of. Yeah. Right. Sometimes you have to put in a little footwork and do a little bit of piecemeal to get the true value out of the stuff. So
true entrepreneurial spirit all the way around, Chris. Thank you very much. Well, at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions. Anything and everything. Anything's got. By the way, Chris, the lighting in your truck, it kind of gives that night vision goggle thing. It's like, was it hunting Bigfoot feel to it or something? I love it. Anybody else have any questions, comments that we can dive into tonight?
Rod, I'll go ahead real quick while you got me.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. So a couple things for the group. One is Rod just went through a great curriculum, which you described it as a curriculum. And just so everybody's aware, we're working through some specifics for the next, 32 weeks or so. And the idea is to make sure that all your foundational elements are a part of what we're teaching here. It goes along with the soft skills we've always talked about. And Rod had taken the time to pull together a good calendar of curriculum for us to hit. So that's why there's kind of this start and finish on the curriculum portion. You can take good notes on it, and there will be some backup documents on that. What I found even as early as today with some of my private coaching clients, people are missing the important components. They're forgetting to build out budgets, build out business plans, even have executive summaries, build out long-term marketing plans, our brand guides. I know I said this a couple weeks ago on the call equally, and they're paying the price for it, whether they're catching up or they've made so many left turns they forgot what their business was. So it's important that we refresh these, go through them methodically so we don't miss anything for you. So if the first 32 weeks of 2025, you're going to get a really good foundation in curriculum. So with that being said, I wanted to transition real quick to Chris. Thank you for sharing tonight. I have a completely new perspective on your business. I've looked at your stuff. I thought, okay, it's a little eclectic, bullets and pirate coins and this and that. But now that I understand your business plan and why you do it, and I've heard from you verbally, it makes 100% sense, and it makes it that much, probably 1,000% more attractive to me all of a sudden going, oh, I get it. Right on. So that being said, when you look at your marketing and how you present things and your forward-facing materials or what you're putting up on Instagram is helping share that story that you've shared tonight. You had a passion for pirate stuff, and of course that's what you're casting. You don't want to do just that shiny piece of silver or gold like what I have in my desk that has somebody's stamp on it. You want to have something unique. So I'd really lean into that, and I guarantee you that there'll be different levels of interest based on what you talked about. So thank you for sharing. You've created another expanded fan in your work. I've always loved what you've done, but now I really get it. So good resource. And then the last thing is, if you're listening to the call either tonight or another night, we are offering a guest spot every week. So please reach out to one of us and tell us that you want to have your 5 minutes or whatever it turns out to be to share your business, what you're doing. It's your time to do whatever you want to do. If you want to do it, Chris did, great. If you want to approach it like Heidi did last week, that's fine too. But we're trying to give more value to the community. So that's all I got. I'm going to mute myself again and finish my dinner.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Chris, I just want to echo what Jim said too. Understanding why you do what you do on the art side of it makes sense, rather than just having, the blocks. And I didn't get it either. I watched what you do, and I can appreciate it, but I didn't really understand it. I was even thinking you could use that to hide metal in plain sight,
Yeah.
You could make things and make it look like a water bottle that's real silver.
There's a whole community in what I do in hand poured casting, so it's been around for quite a while. One of my wholesale customers who had his shop broken into, he's been doing it for about 10 years, and he's gotten pretty big. So in the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that I sell, since my regular day job at the moment kind of gets in the way of the retail market, I sell through him, and I make less of a profit on each thing, but there's always a profit. He's just a great resource and has put a ton of my stuff out on his eBay lives and some of his other things when he does the coin shows and whatnot. And it's like you said, it's networking, right? And the one thing I've always been good about is whatever business or hobby I'm into, I do usually find the core individuals that supply most of the markets. Back when I was a reptile guy,
Yeah.
wholesalers, importers, distributors, dealers, when I'm a hobby guy and it becomes my business model, I become a nut. So, I'm sure my wife would attest to it.
You found a way that makes it work, and that's that entrepreneurial spirit. So thanks again, Chris. I do appreciate it. Anybody else tonight before we cut her off? Going once, going twice.
I'll jump in here a little bit.
Rachel. Hi.
Hi. So I thought it was great. By the way, Chris, I didn't understand your business until you went through it tonight either. I knew a little, but this brought it to life for me in a whole new way. And maybe I just didn't look deep enough before, or maybe there's an opportunity for your positioning in your marketing to tell the story in a more authentic way.
Yeah, the hard part with my business is that it's kind of 3 or 4 businesses in one, right? I have the high-end luxury side that I deal with. If you want your brand new 3-carat diamond engagement ring, redone for your 25th wedding anniversary, I have that aspect. And then the pirate treasure side is kind of another scope of it, but they all fall within the same group of dealers, right? Whether it be watch guys and precious metal guys and jewelry guys, we all cross over. So
Well,
yeah,
I think that's part of what I'm saying is that a lot of people are too close to their business. They're like, can't see the forest through the trees. And they're like, oh, it's so complicated. I have all these things. It's like, well, okay. If you look at, to Rod's point earlier, where's your revenue generation coming from? Where do you make the most money? Okay. If you make the most money on pirate coins, I'm just making this up, probably not the case, then that is your primary sales driver. That's your primary positioning. That's what you lead with. And then it's like, oh, by the way, we also offer these other things too. Sure, that's available. But you don't lead with that because it doesn't bring you any money. So like with me, Sunday brunch, 10 years ago, we were like, oh, we build websites. And then after a while, I'm like, well, like 70% of our business is coming from social media. Well, let me change all that. We do social media. Let's talk about that all day long. So, it's going to ebb and flow. And like, just because it's one thing today doesn't mean it's going to be that forever. But think about where your revenue comes from and then reposition how you're selling it that way. Same thing with Heidi. Like, I see you pop on there. I'm thinking about your business. Like, what do you sell the most of? Like, that's what we should be talking about. Not to say that there's not other ways to support it, like with testimonials and like lifestyle things and aspirational, but that is critical. So I also want to talk for just a minute on something that I'm sure you've all noticed. Instagram changed their profile grid from square to a rectangular shape that's not the same shape as a reel, but it's like a funky alternative rectangle shape. We've had a lot of conversations recently about what to do about that. Do we go back through historically and change everyone's profile images? What best practice is at this moment in time is don't worry so much about the past, just worry about the future and sizing things within a rectangle, but like within your rectangle, you need to think of a secondary shape. Think of the square inside the rectangle. So build to rectangular, but design to square. And that's kind of where the industry is going to handle that. Now, if you are running digital ads, you're already building multiple sizes anyways. So just have your designer think it's a rectangle, but the square inside the rectangle. So that's my 2 cents on that. In case anybody was curious. And if anybody else has any issues about what's changing right now, with social media or websites, don't hesitate to ask about that. I also want to take a little bit of a poll for anybody who is following us tonight. I know that we've talked in the past about SEO, and it's something that everybody needs for their business, and some people know what it means, some people don't. But there's this other term called AEO. And if you guys are interested on why it matters, tools to enhance it, pro tips, maybe a chart comparing AEO to SEO, then I won't do it tonight because I know we're out of time, but maybe that's something that I can put onto the schedule for next month. Just so we can talk about those digital marketing strategies and what they mean and how they can help your business. So, and if you want me to apply it to your business in advance of our call, then let me know, maybe send something in the group chat and put in the URL for your business, and I'll be able to give like some tailored advice during that lesson. We have a hand up.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Rachel. I really do. Staying up on the industry and letting us know. Thank you. Taylor, go ahead, unmute and tell us what you got.
Hello. Yes, thank you, Rachel. I always appreciate that. I always feel like it's a fire hose of information from you, but I also appreciate it because you are consistent in the fire hose of information. So I'm able to just like take what I can handle in the moment. And then I know that I can always come back for more. So thank you. Also, Chris, thank you. I will fourth what all the previous people said, that I just appreciate hearing a little bit of your story, and it makes me want to ask more questions and get to know your business better. So thank you for sharing. Okay, my question is a dummy question, but I feel like I should know the answer, but I don't. So I'm wondering if anybody has resources for figuring out how to change the copyright on my Shopify website to the current year, because this is new information to me and I don't really quite understand how that works or what it even means. That's all.
I'm going to defer that one to Rachel.
Yeah, I think that's directed in my general direction. Okay, are you talking about in the footer where it says like copyright?
I think so.
2022 or
Well,
whatever?
I've just heard a couple of things. I think you mentioned something about copyright year on a website potentially, or maybe I misheard. And then I saw a random Instagram reel from somebody I follow who's in marketing, sort of. And he was like, don't be that person that doesn't change your copyright in the new year. And I was like, I don't know what that means.
Okay, all right, it's true.
Okay.
I'm glad that you saw that. So I am going to show you an example. I'm a visual learner, so
Me too.
here we go. We're gonna share our, okay. The sharing has been disabled, so I cannot share it. But I will tell you, if you go to the bottom of the SundayBrunchAgency.com website, at the very bottom, it says copyright, and there's a little C 2025 Sunday Brunch Agency. So what happens is your website gets made, and especially in Shopify, I think it defaults to the year that it was created. You need to go into the settings. It's on the bottom left-hand corner for Shopify in the little gear. Go into your settings and you need to adjust the footer and you can change it to 2025. Now, it's just good practice to do. You also should update, if you haven't already, any dates on like terms and conditions, if you have those on your website. Privacy policy language also should be updated if it hasn't already. And if you guys need like a boilerplate privacy policy or terms of service language, I can add that to our document library on the back end of Yes. So you can lift those. I will do that. Yes. Okay. You got it. You also, your websites should all have a cookie policy that people have to accept as they're going onto your website. It's one of those legal things that websites need to have a cookie policy. So make sure you do that. And if you have done all of those things, then the next thing on your list is to make sure that you're handicap accessible for your website. So we can probably do a whole lesson on handicap accessibility rules for the website, and I will add that to a future lesson. There's actually a third party that you can use, and they run a monthly report, which is really great because some people, I know most of us run, very small businesses. So it's not like we're in the spotlight or something of, being a massively publicly traded company or something, but there's those jerks out there who will be like, come after you and be like, oh, your website's not ADA compliant. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know. Why didn't Rachel tell me? So this is me telling you, put it on your list of the 2025 goal: ADA compliance, privacy policy, terms of service, update copyright. Like these are basic website fundamentals that I'll do a whole lesson on website fundamentals.
I look forward to that. Thank you so much for the information.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you, Rachel. Thanks for the question, Taylor, because that helps all of us. See that we all need to know that. So this is ideal. Perfect. All right. Any last thoughts? All right. We're gonna call it good then. And
anybody ever has any questions, I'm available all the time. Whether it be in any of the spaces that I mentioned today. I'll answer any questions. I can get you anything if you want it, or if there's things in your local markets. I always recommend buying local as well. Right? You have your local jeweler and whatnot who does everything for you. They're quick, they're honest. But if you're not sure about something, just ask and I can confirm or deny or whatever, and we can go forward that way. So anything that anybody needs, I'm always available. Instagram is probably the easiest way to reach me, or just text me on my phone number that's available.
excellent. Thank you again, Chris. Thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week.